Greetings, I'm Lando Calrissian, and this here is one of my most loyal companions, Cuthbert. He's a rare miniature Loth-Wolf, and he's a good boy who's never too far away when trouble seems imminent. Tonight, you'll hear the origin story of how Cuthbert came into my life. This is the Calrissian Chronicles, Chapter 19. It's probably obvious by now that I have a gambling problem. I'm out of control. I don't just play scratch-offs at the grocery store or at a fueling station. I go in for lotto tickets, space roulette, and Star Wars pinball too. How is that even possible? Anyway, I play them all, and I lose. And sometimes I get into weird predicaments. I once bet money that wasn't mine on the flip of a coin, and I lost. When the big scary cartel gangsters caught up to me a few weeks later, my junk heap ship wasn't the only thing that got wrecked. They beat my ass so bad my future children felt it. And they threatened to cut off To repay my debt, a rising star of the local crime syndicates named Dryden Vos tasked me with smuggling one of his spies out of a military complex on Utaro. When I arrived to scope out the base, I noticed unmarked vehicles entering at the same time every morning. I could use one to smuggle myself into the base. Sure enough, the vehicle I hid inside failed to make its rendezvous time. This usually meant I had to be scanned at the gate before being granted entry. I was worried I'd be caught. But I wasn't. I made it into the loading bay and took cover. Before I snuck off, I helped myself to some of the supplies. They had enough to feed entire armies after all. And I was peckish. I pecked at the first crate, a wide variety of snack foods, but nothing particularly tasty. I pecked at the second crate, melons, juicy melons. But I had no melon spoon to eat with, and I didn't want to ruin my favorite cape. The final crate I pecked at contained a female raccoon. And she looked like a supermodel. But I wanted to see her winter collection before I'd consider dating her. She seemed friendly enough, and I liked that she hadn't tried to eat me. Before I could peck some more, soldiers approached. I ducked out of sight. I could hear nearby soldiers talking about a great hunt followed by a banquet. They said President Zendari's event would be creative with the food. The first soldier looked uneasy.
How can the president hunt children from the local orphanage for sport? It seems mildly questionable, even if hunting orphans is maximum fun, he said. None of your fucking business, pilot, the other one said.
I took a minifigure out of myself. I took a minifigure of myself out of my pocket and looked at him. Orphans? This seems like a chance for heroism, little Lando, I said. Little Lando stared at me deeply but didn't reply. He didn't need to. I put him back in my pocket. I rushed a nearby delivery driver, smothering his mouth with yesterday's underwear. Moments later, I was disguised in his uniform. Had photos of a nice-looking family in his wallet too, which I have kept to this day. I'm your dad now, kids.
What?
I put my head down and followed the walkway to the main building. New mission: assassinate President Zendari, rescue orphans, then find Dryden's spy and get the hell out of there. It was all going quite well. I wriggled through a ventilation shaft overlooking Zendari's office. But something wasn't right. President Zendari lay below, nothing but a pile of charred flesh. The assassins had left calling cards behind. Black Series Boba Fett helmets. What kind of universe is this? I wanted one as a souvenir, but that's not all they left. Two hound-like creatures patrolled the room. I'd never seen such magnificent beasts before, despite being so tiny and quite cute. Surely there'd be no trouble. How wrong was I? I dropped for the ventilation shaft and punched the nearest... This is horrible. I dropped from the ventilation shaft and punched the nearest puppy. It got up and tried to bite me. I swung again, but the animal vanished in a flash. Spooky. I tried to run, but the beast reappeared and knocked me down. I woke to find myself being dragged down a hallway by my ankle. The second of the dogs seemed a lot calmer, like it was King Dick. I hate Matt and Sean so much. Now I got a good look. I could see there was some kind of wolf. Uh-oh. I used my superhuman abdominal muscles to hurl myself at the wolf, holding my leg. A bitch slapped it to the floor. It got up and pulled a gun on me, which seemed unusual behavior for a dog.
Now you got a problem,
the wolf said, but its mouth didn't move. I could hear his voice inside my head, and apparently it heard my thoughts too. Talking dogs. I hope it can't see where I hide my pornos. I hate this AI so much. I couldn't speak or move, gripped by an invisible force. I cringed as this little wolf inched closer towards my pretty face. I tried desperately to wriggle as it moved in for a kiss. This wasn't going very well. My mouth moved a tiny bit, but all I achieved was to make this kiss more passionate. The wolf's tongue... I hate you guys so much. The wolf's tongue rammed into my mouth. My eyes darted to the second wolf, who seemed a little uncomfortable with the situation.
Not this again. Hurry up,
it said as it groomed himself. I command you to help me, I shouted in my thoughts. Perhaps asserting my alpha status was the key here. The first wolf didn't respond. I tried again. Nothing. Be like Caesar, I thought. I dug deep and bellowed, sit! This time it obeyed. The wolf sat. Drop it! Suddenly the wolf dropped its gun and released me from its kiss. I swear to God. I felt a sizzle as it tore its sandpaper tongue from my mouth. It curled up around my head in a sudden display of affection. The second wolf ceased grooming when it noticed what occurred. It was angry. Do your job, Cuthbert, it growled. Kill him! The wolf that had once been my foe, who now cuddled me like a friend who I now knew to be named Cuthbert, reared onto its hind legs and assumed a warrior pose.
Quit running your dick mouth, Joey!
The Cuthbert replied. I picked up the gun and shot at Joey, but he disappeared in a flash of black mist. What the fuck is up with these dogs? What kind of space magic did these wolves possess? Cuthbert seemed unfazed. Joey reappeared and Batman kicked Cuthbert.
You're a traitor to the pack, Cuthbert, and you'll pay for it.
Then Cuthbert disappeared in black mist. Joey scoured the room.
Coward!
Joey yelled before lunging at me, his jaws moving even closer to my jugular. I struggled to hold him back. In a heartbeat, Cuthbert reappeared, wrapping his jaws around Joey's neck, jerking him away. Joey howled in agony. Cuthbert barely broke a sweat. With a simple twist of his jaw, Cuthbert snapped Joey's neck in two. He chomped down on Joey's head and swallowed him whole. Don't go anywhere, Cuthbert spoke telepathically before disappearing again. Where the hell was I gonna go? In all the excitement. I swear to God, guys. In all the excitement, I'd shit myself. I hate them so much. I hung my head in shame. I hadn't pooped my pants since I was a small boy. I removed my favorite cape and proceeded to clean myself. At the end of the hall, the door opened. With my pants down, I peeked over my shoulder to see a squad of soldiers pointing guns at me. In one hand, I held my poopy cape. In the other, a blaster. Sure, I was outgunned, but never outmatched. I pointed and shot my gun into the corner. The bullet ricocheted 30 times, eventually killing their commanding officer. The soldiers ducked and returned fire, but I didn't flinch. With my feces in hand, I pounced at the cowering soldiers. They knew if I got closer, they would get a face full of shit. Most surrendered, but one idiot drew a pistol and fired at me. He missed. Oh, damn it. I thrust my poopy hand into his mouth and held it in place, muffling his screams. He choked, spewing his own blood into my hand. I squeezed and began jerking his gag with my dirty fingers. Cuthbert reappeared beside me, shaking his head, seeming disappointed with my display. What did you expect? I told him. Cuthbert spoke into my mind again.
Fuck, you smell funny.
He laughed silently.
But you still got a mission to complete.
How did he know about my mission? Yes, I do, Cuthbert, I said, removing my smeared hand from the soldier's mouth. I held it in front of Cuthbert so he could smell my shame. Then I tossed what remained to the floor. Fuck you, Pooh, I proclaimed. Cuthbert cried with laughter.
Let's find your spy and get you some smelling salts, shall we?
His voice echoed in my mind. As we walked down the hallway, Cuthbert ate the faces of each of the soldiers we came across while I strutted confidently to the rendezvous point to meet Dryden's spies. But he never turned up, so we stole some crates of snacks and went home. Dryden Vos was so mad. He would later find out that his spy had been killed, face torn off by a wild animal. I decided it was best to keep my mouth shut. Sure, I forgot to free the orphans. And little Lando was disappointed in me, and I didn't get paid for the job. But what Cuthbert and I lacked in reward, we made up for with a lifelong friendship. Would you look at that? It's Cuthbert's dinner time. I better go, as he gets cranky when he's hungry. Until next time, I'm Lando Calrissian, and these are my stories. Our stories.